Hello and welcome to another Asia News Today, Thursday edition of the program. And if you can hear a little bit of noise in the background, we actually record this in an open office. So there might be a few occasional murmurings about these. Tell you about that a little bit later. But to start off today, Japan records another incursion of Russian military aircraft in their airspace. The US is urging citizens not to travel to Vietnam when it reopens, and Australian rules football, the very Aussie version of football, is gaining popularity in Indonesia. All that and a whole lot more in today's Asia News Today. South Korea's education minister said the schools were now experienced enough to safely run classes after 2 years of the pandemic. But the ministry is also advising students to conduct rapid antigen tests twice a week before going to school. South Korea reported 219,241 new infections yesterday, the vast majority the less severe but highly transmissible Omicron variant. A spokesperson for the South Korean Ministry of Health and Welfare yesterday speculated that he believed the country may be near the peak in COVID daily infections. There's a meeting of Asean with the US scheduled for March the 28th and 29th, and the US are following Asean's lead by inviting a non-political representative from Myanmar instead of someone from the military or even the former elected government. Then again, most of the former elected leaders are still being detained by the military, some 13 months after the coup. US President Joe Biden has scheduled a special summit of the United States and ASEAN leaders by the end of March. Addressing Myanmar with its former name Burma, a spokesperson for the US State Department said that the US supported the ASEAN approach in engaging with a non-political participant in the talks. Last year, ASEAN barred Myanmar's military junta from group meetings after failing to honour an earlier plan with the bloc to end violence in the country since the generals seized power, killing hundreds, displacing over 300,000 people and triggering an exodus of foreign companies. The US White House summit is planned to step up US engagement with the Asia-Pacific region in efforts to push back against China's regional power. It's emerged that senior Chinese officials made formal requests to senior Russian officials in the weeks before the Winter Olympics in Beijing not to invade Ukraine until after the event was over. The New York Times quotes senior Biden administration and European officials. The New York Times report suggests that senior Chinese officials had at least some level of information about Russia's intentions to invade Ukraine. The Winter Games finished on February the 20th. Russian President Vladimir Putin launched the invasion into Ukraine last Thursday, 4 days after the completion of the Beijing event. As a follow-up, a source apparently familiar with the matter has confirmed to Reuters that China had made the request but declined to provide details. Neither the US State Department, the CIA or the White House National Security Council have responded to the New York Times story. And taking a quick break out of the program to mention that we do have our Thaiger merchandise, including these fabulous cups. If you'd like to have a little bit of Thaiger during your day, you can drink out of these magnificent mugs. They're available along with other Thaiger merchandise at thethaiger.com/shop. And welcome back to Asia News Today. The Japanese Ministry of Defence has reported that a Russian helicopter has violated Japan's northern airspace. The Japanese Defence Ministry noted that there'd been an intensification of Russian activity in both the seas and airspace and remains a concern for the country with repeated violations of Japan's airspace. The Ministry of Defence said it will continue to take all possible measures, as they say, 24 hours and 365 days of the year to protect the peaceful lives of Japan's territory and its people. With Vietnam poised to reopen to international travellers in 2 weeks, the US CDC has upped Vietnam's risk level to level 4, citing high COVID infections and encouraging Americans not to travel to the country when it does reopen. Vietnam's opening its borders on March the 15th due to the relatively low number of hospitalisations and deaths due to the Omicron variant. According to Travel and Leisure, more than 130 destinations around the world are designated as Level 4, Do Not Travel. Some of those locations include Mexico, France and Spain. Now, you'll end up on the CDC Level 4 list if you report more than 500 cases of COVID per 100,000 people over the past 28 days. Vietnam's currently reporting a sharp spike in positive cases, yesterday recording over 110,000 positive infections in one day, the highest daily number of the entire pandemic in Vietnam. Whilst the US CDC urges travellers to avoid Vietnam entirely, it states that keeping up to date with the latest vaccinations and taking proper precautions, such as wearing a mask in public spaces, can help keep travellers safe whilst in the country.
Join the conversation and have your voice heard. Discuss the issues, share information and get information. Thaiger Talk is where you keep in touch with everything Thailand. Go to thethaiger.com/talk.
Now, if you do want to visit Vietnam from March the 15th, you'll need to apply for a visitor's visa, provide proof of full vaccination or a recent recovery, and take a PCR test before your departure to Vietnam. Once you arrive there, you'll have to quarantine for 1 day when you arrive, and you'll then have to show a negative self-administered ATK test. On the second day, if negative, you'll be free to travel throughout the country. You'll also need to show a travel insurance policy valued at least $20,000 US. And Australian rules football, the very Aussie version of football, which is massively popular in the land down under, but not really anywhere else, is becoming more popular in nearby Indonesia. According to AFL Asia, they report there's been a considerable increase in female participation in the sport in both Jakarta and Bali over recent years. AFL Asia also reports a 99% rise in participation in development and promotion programs across Indonesia over the same time. The rise of popularity of the game has also led to a number of new mixed domestic league teams like the Jakarta Bintangs and the Bali Geckos. But Ian Shearer from AFL Indonesia and founder of the Krakatoas says that Australian rules football is not as popular as soccer in Indonesia, but continues to see rapid growth with high rates of participation. Last year, about 8,000 Indonesian students went through the AFL Asia development program. The Bali Geckos say they plan to hold a women's tournament in Bali later this year, with other teams from Asia and possibly Australia coming to play. Well, that's all the latest news from around Asia over the past 24 hours. We do our daily whip around from Monday to Friday in about 10 minutes. But from all the team here, rather noisy team today, from Asia News Today, we'll be back again tomorrow.